Hello, I am Mike.
Hello, I am Lily. Welcome to English Podcast Flow.
Today's episode is, do you want to speak English better? It's a question I think we've all asked ourselves at some point on our language learning journey. That desire to really express ourselves fluently, to have conversations flow effortlessly, and to, really connect with others in English.
It is a common goal, and for good reason. Being able to speak English confidently opens up like a world of opportunities, whether it's for travel or work or simply, connecting with people from different cultures.
Absolutely. But as anyone who's tried to learn a new language knows, it can be quite a challenging process, right? There are so many aspects to master, you
Yeah.
know, grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation,
Yeah.
and of course that ever elusive fluency.
It's true. There's a lot to learn, and it can feel overwhelming at times. But the good news is that there are, proven techniques and strategies that can help you become a more confident and fluent English speaker. And that's what we're going to explore in today's podcast.
Okay, great. I'm excited to dive into these techniques. So where do we begin? What's the first step on this journey to speaking English better?
Well, one of the most fundamental aspects of language learning, and one that often gets overlooked, is the power of listening.
Listening. That makes sense. After all, we need to understand what others are saying before we can respond. But how can we go beyond just passive listening and really use it to, improve our speaking skills?
Studies show that immersing yourself in the sounds of English can have a profound impact on your ability to speak the language. Think of it like training your ear to recognize the patterns and rhythms of English speech.
So it's like tuning our ears to the music of the language, becoming familiar with the melodies and harmonies of spoken English.
Exactly. And there are so many ways to immerse yourself in English these days, right? You can listen to podcasts, audiobooks, music, watch movies and TV shows, even follow English-speaking social media accounts.
It's about surrounding ourselves with the language, making it a part of our daily lives.
Precisely. And as you listen, pay attention to the way native speakers pronounce words, the intonation they use, the rhythm of their speech. Don't worry about understanding every word at first. Just focus on absorbing the sounds and patterns of the language.
So it's about training our ears to become more attuned to the nuances of English pronunciation and intonation.
Exactly. And over time, you'll find that you're able to mimic those sounds and patterns more naturally when you speak.
That's fascinating. It's like our brains are subconsciously absorbing the language through osmosis, picking up on those subtle details that we might not even be consciously aware of.
It's true. And the more you listen, the more those sounds and patterns will become ingrained in your mind, making it easier for you to produce them when you speak.
So listening is not just about comprehension. It's about laying the foundation for fluent and natural sounding speech.
Precisely. It's like building a house. You need a solid foundation before you can start adding walls and a roof.
I love that analogy. It makes the importance of listening so clear. So once we've built that foundation through listening, what's the next step?
Well, once you've started to familiarize yourself with the sounds of English, it's time to put those sounds into practice and start speaking.
Speaking. Now that's where the real challenge lies, isn't it? It can be quite intimidating to put ourselves out there and speak a new language, especially when we're still building our confidence.
It's true, speaking can be nerve-wracking, especially in the beginning.
Mm.
But the key is to, start small and gradually build up your confidence over time.
So it's about taking baby steps, dipping our toes into the water before diving in head first.
Exactly. And one of the best ways to start speaking is to find opportunities to use English in your daily life, even if it's just for a few minutes at a time.
So it's about making English a part of our routine, incorporating it into our daily activities.
Precisely. It appears that even dedicating just 5 minutes each day to speaking can make a significant difference.
5 minutes. That's encouraging to hear. It makes the idea of practicing speaking feel much more manageable. But what are some practical ways to incorporate those 5 minutes into our busy schedules?
There are so many possibilities. You can talk to yourself in English, describing your thoughts and actions as you go about your day. You can practice reading aloud from a book or article, paying attention to your pronunciation and intonation. You can even record yourself speaking and then listen back to identify areas where you can improve.
Those are great ideas. It's about finding those little pockets of time throughout the day and using them to flex our English-speaking muscles.
Exactly. And the more you practice, the more comfortable and confident you'll become.
So it's about building that muscle memory, making those English sounds and patterns feel more natural and effortless.
Precisely. And as you practice, don't be afraid to make mistakes. In fact, mistakes are an essential part of the learning process.
Mistakes. I think that's one of the biggest fears that many language learners face. The fear of making mistakes and sounding foolish. How can we overcome that fear and embrace mistakes as a learning opportunity?
It's important to remember that everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. It's a natural part of language learning, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. Think of mistakes as stepping stones on your path to fluency.
So it's about shifting our perspective, seeing mistakes not as failures, but as valuable feedback that helps us grow and improve.
Exactly. Each time you make a mistake, you're actually learning something new about the language. You're becoming more aware of the areas where you need to focus your practice, and you're developing the resilience and perseverance that are essential for language learning success.
That's a great way to reframe our thinking about mistakes. It's about turning that fear into a positive force that drives us forward.
Precisely. And as you practice speaking, don't be afraid to experiment with different words and phrases. The more you expand your vocabulary, the more expressive and nuanced your speech will become.
Speaking of vocabulary, I think many language learners struggle with feeling like they don't know enough words to express themselves effectively. What advice would you give to those who feel limited by their vocabulary?
One of the most effective ways to expand your vocabulary is to learn phrases, not just individual words.
Phrases. Why is that more beneficial than just learning individual words?
Studies show that learning phrases helps you speak more fluently and sound less robotic. Instead of translating every word in your head, you're able to retrieve chunks of language more effortlessly, which makes your speech sound more natural and idiomatic.
So it's about moving beyond those individual building blocks and learning how to assemble them into meaningful structures.
Exactly. For example, instead of just learning the word hungry, you could learn the phrase, I'm feeling peckish, or I could really go for a bite to eat. These phrases not only expand your vocabulary, but also give you more options for expressing yourself in different contexts.
That's a great example. It shows how phrases can add color and nuance to our language, making it sound more natural and expressive.
Precisely. And as you learn new phrases, try to use them in your speaking practice as often as possible. The more you use them, the more they'll become ingrained in your memory and the more fluent your speech will sound.
It's about turning those passive vocabulary words into active tools that we can use confidently in our conversations.
Exactly. And as you continue to expand your vocabulary and practice speaking, you'll find that you're able to express yourself more effortlessly and connect with others on a deeper level.
Welcome back to English Podcast Flow. We're continuing our exploration of how to speak English better, and I'm excited to delve into some more advanced techniques that can really elevate your fluency.
Okay, I'm all ears. We've already covered so much ground, from the power of listening and speaking practice to embracing mistakes and learning phrases. What's next on our agenda?
Well, one technique that I find incredibly helpful for developing fluency and confidence is something called shadowing.
Shadowing. I've heard of that, but I'm not quite sure I understand how it works. It's a simple but powerful technique. It involves listening to a recording of a native English speaker and trying to imitate their pronunciation, intonation, and rhythm as closely as possible.
So it's like we're becoming a vocal echo, mimicking the sounds and patterns of fluent speech.
Exactly. Think of it like having a personal pronunciation coach right there in your earbuds, guiding you every step of the way.
That's a great analogy. But how does shadowing actually work in practice?
It's quite straightforward. First, you choose a short audio or video clip of a native English speaker talking about a topic that interests you. It could be a podcast episode, a TED Talk, or even a scene from your favorite movie.
So it's important to find material that we find engaging and enjoyable.
Absolutely. The more you enjoy the content, the more motivated you'll be to practice shadowing. Once you've chosen your clip, listen to it a few times to get a feel for the overall rhythm and flow of the speaker's voice.
So it's about immersing ourselves in the soundscape of their speech, becoming familiar with their unique style.
Precisely. Then you start shadowing the speaker by repeating what they say as closely as possible. Try to match their pronunciation, intonation, and even their pauses and breaths.
It's like we're synchronizing our voice with theirs, becoming a vocal chameleon, blending in with their speech patterns.
Exactly. It might feel a bit awkward at first, but with practice, you'll start to notice a significant improvement in your pronunciation, fluency, and overall confidence.
That's incredible. It's like we're rewiring our brains to produce those sounds and rhythms more naturally.
It's like giving your vocal muscles a workout, training them to produce those English sounds with greater accuracy and ease.
I love that. So are there any tips for making shadowing more effective?
Yeah, one helpful tip is to break down the audio clip into smaller chunks and focus on mastering each section before moving on to the next.
So it's about taking a bite-sized approach, mastering one piece at a time before devouring the whole meal.
Exactly. Another helpful tip is to record yourself shattering and then listen back to compare your pronunciation to the original speakers.
It's like having a personal feedback loop, allowing us to hear our progress and identify areas where we can improve.
Precisely. And remember, shadowing is not about achieving perfect imitation. It's about using it as a tool to train your ear, improve your pronunciation, and boost your overall fluency.
This is such a powerful technique. I can't wait to incorporate shadowing into my daily practice.
Now, shifting gears a bit, let's talk about another aspect of language learning that often causes anxiety for English learners: the fear of making mistakes.
Oh yeah, the dreaded fear of making mistakes. It can be paralyzing, holding us back from speaking freely and confidently.
It's a common experience and it's completely understandable. But it's important to remember that mistakes are an inevitable part of the learning process. In fact, they're essential for growth.
So how can we overcome this fear and, embrace mistakes as a learning opportunity?
First, it's helpful to shift our perspective. Instead of seeing mistakes as failures, we can view them as valuable feedback that helps us identify areas where we need to improve.
So it's about reframing our thinking, turning that fear of making mistakes into a positive force that drives us forward.
Exactly. Each time we make a mistake, we're presented with an opportunity to learn something new, to refine our understanding of the language, and to develop the resilience and perseverance that are essential for language learning success.
That's a great way to look at it. It's about turning those stumbles into stepping stones on our path to fluency.
Precisely. And remember, everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers. It's a natural part of language, and it's nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, embracing our mistakes and learning from them is what allows us to grow and improve.
So instead of fearing mistakes, we can embrace them as a sign that we're learning and progressing.
Exactly. And as we become more comfortable with making mistakes, we'll find that we're more willing to take risks in our speaking, to experiment with new words and phrases, and to push ourselves outside of our comfort zone.
It's about developing that growth mindset, where we see challenges not as obstacles, but as opportunities for learning and development.
Precisely. Now let's talk about another powerful technique for improving your English speaking skills: thinking in English.
Thinking in English. That sounds like a tall order, especially for those of us who are still in the early stages of learning the language. Is it really possible to train our brains to think in a different language?
It might seem daunting at first, but it's definitely achievable with practice and persistence. And studies show that it can have a profound impact on your fluency and confidence.
So how do we actually go about training our brains to think in English?
One helpful strategy is to start small and gradually increase the amount of time you spend thinking in English each day. You can start by simply describing your surroundings in English, labeling objects in your mind, or narrating your actions as you go about your day.
So it's about making English a part of our internal monologue, integrating it into our everyday thoughts and experiences.
Exactly. And as you become more comfortable with thinking in, simple English, you can gradually increase the complexity of your thoughts. Start thinking about your plans for the day, your opinions on current events, or even your dreams and aspirations, all in English.
It's like we're slowly immersing our minds in the language, creating an English-speaking world within our own thoughts.
Precisely. And the more you practice thinking in English, the easier it will become to speak the language fluently and naturally. Your thoughts will flow more smoothly, you'll be able to retrieve words and phrases more effortlessly, and your speech will sound more authentic and spontaneous.
It's like removing that mental translation barrier, allowing our thoughts to flow directly into English words and sentences.
Exactly. Now let's move on to another aspect of English speaking that often causes anxiety for learners: pronunciation.
Pronunciation. That's definitely a challenge, especially for those of us whose native language has vastly different sounds and rhythms than English.
It's true, pronunciation can be tricky. But it's important to remember that perfect pronunciation is not the goal. The goal is to be understood.
So it's about finding that balance between clarity and authenticity.
Exactly. And there are many ways to improve your pronunciation without striving for a native-like accent. You can focus on mastering the sounds that are most challenging for you, practice speaking at a slower pace, and pay attention to the rhythm and intonation of English.
So it's about breaking down the complex aspects of pronunciation into smaller, more manageable steps.
Precisely. And there are many resources available to help you along the way. You can find pronunciation guides online, watch videos of native speakers, and even use apps that provide feedback on your pronunciation.
It's like having a personal pronunciation coach right at your fingertips.
Now let's talk about one more strategy that can make a big difference in your English-speaking confidence. Finding a speaking partner.
Speaking partners. That's something I've always found incredibly helpful in my language learning journey. Having someone to practice with, to bounce ideas off of, and to receive feedback from can make all the difference.
It appears that having a speaking partner provides a safe and supportive space to practice your speaking skills, receive feedback, and learn from each other. It's like having a built-in accountability buddy who is invested in your success.
Exactly. And finding a language partner is easier than ever these days. There are countless online platforms and apps that connect language learners from around the world.
So whether you're looking for someone to practice with online or in person, there's a language partner out there waiting to connect with you.
And what advice would you give those who are, searching for a language partner?
First and foremost, look for someone who is patient, encouraging, and shares your passion for learning English. It's also helpful to find someone who has a similar level of fluency as you so that you can both challenge and support each other.
It's like finding a language soulmate.
Exactly. And once you've found a language partner, make a regular schedule for practicing together. You can chat about your day, discuss current events, role play different scenarios, or even work on specific language skills together.
It's about creating those opportunities for regular interaction and practice, making English a part of our social lives.
Precisely. And the more you practice with a speaking partner, the more comfortable and confident you'll become in using English in a variety of contexts.
Welcome back to English Podcast Flow. We're wrapping up our conversation on how to speak English better, and I'm really excited about the techniques we have left to explore.
Me too. We've covered so much ground already, from the foundational elements like listening and speaking practice to, more advanced strategies like shadowing and thinking in English. What other gems of wisdom do you have in store for us in this final part?
Well, one area that I think is crucial for taking your English speaking skills to the next level is focusing on fluency and expression. Fluency and expression. Those are two words that I think every English learner longs to hear. What exactly do we mean by those terms, and how can we cultivate them in our speaking?
Okay, so fluency refers to the ability to speak smoothly and effortlessly without hesitation or searching for words. It's about having those words and phrases flow naturally from your mind to your mouth, allowing you to express yourself with ease and confidence.
It's that feeling of being in the zone, where the language just seems to flow effortlessly, and we can focus on conveying our message rather than struggling with the, mechanics of grammar and vocabulary.
Exactly. And expression goes hand in hand with fluency. It's about going beyond just speaking correctly and tapping into the emotional and creative side of language. It's about using words to paint pictures, evoke feelings, and connect with others on a deeper level.
It's like adding those brushstrokes of color and texture to our language, making it, come alive and resonate with our audience.
Precisely. And one of the best ways to develop both fluency and expression is through storytelling.
Storytelling. I love a good story. It's a universal language that transcends cultures and connects us on a human level. But how can we use storytelling to, improve our English speaking skills?
Well, studies show that when we tell a story, we naturally use a wider range of vocabulary and grammatical structures. We also tend to speak more fluently and expressively as we're engaged in sharing something that we're, passionate about.
It's like those stories unlock a hidden treasure chest within our language abilities, allowing us to access a richer and more vibrant vocabulary.
Exactly. And the great thing is, everyone has a story to tell. It could be a funny anecdote from your childhood, a memorable travel experience, or a personal challenge you've overcome. Sharing these stories in English not only helps you practice the language, but also allows you to connect with others on a more meaningful level.
So how can we incorporate storytelling into our English speaking practice?
Start by thinking about some stories you'd like to share. It could be something that happened recently or a cherished memory from the past. Once you have a story in mind, take some time to plan it out. Think about the key events, the characters involved, and the emotions you want to convey. You can even jot down some key words or phrases to help you remember the details.
So it's helpful to have a basic structure or outline in mind before we launch into the storytelling.
Exactly. And as you practice telling your story, focus on using descriptive language, varying your tone of voice, and letting your personality shine through. Don't be afraid to add your own personal flair and make the story your own.
It's about bringing those stories to life with our own unique voice and perspective.
Precisely. And as you become more comfortable with storytelling, you can start sharing your stories with others. It could be with a language exchange partner, a friend, or even a small group. The more you practice, the more engaging and captivating your storytelling will become.
This is such inspiring advice. I can already feel the creative juices flowing. I can't wait to start crafting some stories and sharing them with the world.
Me too. Remember, storytelling is a powerful tool for language learning. It not only helps you practice grammar and vocabulary, but also allows you to connect with others, share your culture, and express yourself in a truly authentic way.
Now, switching gears a bit, I want to touch on a topic that often comes up in language learning, the role of accent.
Ah, yes, the accent dilemma. It's something that many English learners worry about, wondering if they need to sound like a native speaker to be considered fluent.
Exactly. There's often this pressure to, erase our accent and conform to a certain standard of pronunciation. But is that really necessary?
Well, I believe that our accent is a part of our identity. It's a reflection of our background, our culture, and our unique journey with the English language. Instead of trying to erase it, we can embrace it as a part of who we are.
So it's about celebrating the diversity of accents and recognizing that there's no one right way to speak English.
Precisely. It appears that the goal of language learning is to be understood, not to sound exactly like a native speaker. As long as your pronunciation is clear and comprehensible, your accent is simply a part of your individual expression.
It's like adding our own unique melody to the symphony of English, enriching the language with our individual flair.
Exactly. And while it's certainly helpful to work on improving your pronunciation and clarity, it's important to do so without feeling the need to completely erase your accent. Embrace it, own it, and let it be a reflection of your unique voice.
I love that message of self-acceptance and embracing our linguistic heritage. It's a reminder that fluency is not about conformity, but about authentic expression.
Now, as we wrap up this episode, I want to leave our listeners with a final piece of advice.
Huh?
Be patient with yourself.
Patience. That's a virtue that's often tested in the language learning journey. It can be frustrating when we don't see progress as quickly as we'd like, and it's easy to get discouraged.
It's true. Language learning is a marathon, not a sprint. It takes time, effort, and dedication. There will be days when you feel like you're making great strides, and there will be days when you feel like you're stuck in a rut. But the key is to keep going, to keep practicing, and to never give up on your goals.
It's about trusting the process, knowing that every step we take, no matter how small, is bringing us closer to fluency.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone on this journey. There are countless others who are learning English alongside you, facing similar challenges and celebrating similar victories. Connect with them, support each other, and celebrate the joy of language learning together.
I love that message of community and encouragement. It's a reminder that we're all in this together and that learning English can be a truly enriching and rewarding experience.
And remember, we're here to support you every step of the way. We'll be back next time with another episode of English Podcast Flow filled with more tips, tricks, and inspiration to help you achieve your language learning goals. Until then, keep practicing, keep exploring, and keep speaking your heart out. We believe in you.
That's great advice. Thank you for joining us today. We hope you enjoyed this episode of English Podcast Flow and that you learned something new. And most importantly, remember to keep practicing your English.
Bye for now.
Bye-bye.